Good morning and welcome. Good morning. I'm Carol Plumlee, a member of the board at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reston. Whether you are on Zoom or here in the church sanctuary, we are so glad you are with us this morning, no matter how old or how young you are, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, however you identify and whomever you love, know you are welcome here. The accompanist today is Denise Kirwan. David Niemi is the hymn leader. We are pleased also to have composer and UUCR member Alan Kramer here to perform two pieces he composed especially for us. Reverend Aileen is out ill today. We hope she is okay and will be feeling better soon. We have Cara Fortner, who will be leading our service today. I have several announcements to share with you. You're invited to attend a garden interest meeting after the service. Our outdoor space is a cherished part of our church. Keeping it healthy and beautiful requires volunteers year-round. Please join Lori Dodd in the sanctuary after the service to learn more. Gardeners of all ages and experience levels are welcome. Next Sunday, September 10th, we will officially kick off the new church year with an intergenerational in-gathering worship service. Following the service, we'll have a potluck picnic. We will also be taking an all-church group photo. There are sign-up sheets in the foyer. You can also pick up a flyer in the foyer with a link to RSVP. Make sure to RSVP today. Visit houses of worship and interfaith programs on the annual Unity Walk Sunday, September 10th from 1:30 to 5:30 p.m. Contact Linda Weaver at linda@uureston.org to learn more or to attend with a UUCR group. The 2023-24 programs for children and teens start on September 17th. Please check the table in the East Foyer for important dates. Now, let us center ourselves for worship, and please take some deep cleansing breaths with me. Let us enter our time of worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude.
Thank you, Alan. That was beautiful. Any version of Spirit of Life makes me very happy. Good morning. I am Cara Fortner. I am our resident seminarian here and can do at the last minute girl. I got a Thank you. I got a call last night and Reverend Aileen is not feeling well, but she will pull through. She's doing fine and well and will be back next week. So in the meantime, though, I prepared and am ready to give 2 different services today. So both are Labor Day related, but in UU fashion, I thought it would be really great if I gave us a choice. So I'm going to take a vote this morning. And those joining us online, Mike is getting ready and he has prepared a poll. 2 sermons available, both written, neither one of them written by myself, both written by UU ministers, both about Labor Day. The first one is a historical reflection, and the second one is a textual analysis of a parable that Jesus told about labor, and it's if you're familiar with it, it's the laborers in the vineyard parable. So I'm asking Steve to help me count. Thank you, Steve. So if you are more interested in a historical reflection of the labor and union movements in the country and abroad, please raise your hand. Ooh, lots of history buffs. I got the back row, Steve. Okay, so I have 16 and 14, and that's what, 30? Okay. I'm not majoring in math. And what, do we have a poll there yet?
There are still some
Answers come.
Out of the 21 people online, 14 have answered so far, and 70% of them say textual.
Textual. Okay, so let's now see in the house who would like to hear the textual analysis. Right. Yep, I got the back. 6 and 13. I got you, don't worry. 6 and 13, what's that? Thank you. 19 and... What is that? 19 plus 11. So history wins. All right. Maybe next year we'll do the textual one. We've got it in the bag. Okay, so history wins. And what you will be glad to know, it is Reverend Aileen's sermon. So you will hear her words today. And we will start with her opening words. From Cesar Chavez. Society is made up of groups, and as long as the smaller groups do not have the same rights and same protections as others, I don't care whether you call it capitalism or communism, it is not going to work. Somehow the guys in power have to be reached by counterpower, or through a change in their hearts and minds, or change will not come. Now we'll go for our hymn, our opening hymn.
Our opening hymn today is number 128 in the Silver Hymnal, For All That Is Our Life. If you're participating at home on Zoom, the words will appear in your chat box, and we hope you will sing along. If you're here in the sanctuary, please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others
Good morning. In recognition of Labor Day, we light this flame to honor all work. Including the work of our hands and our backs, in gratitude for all the labors that support our world, and for all those who boldly continue to work for justice, equity, and peace.
At this church, we have a tradition of singing our covenant together every Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church, with our own words and music. It is our way of recommitting to each other. If you are at home on Zoom, you will find the words in your chat box. Here in the sanctuary, please remain seated. If you're visiting us this morning for the first time, please accept this song as our blessing to you.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another in fellowship.
Good morning. Our story today for this Labor Good morning. Our story today for this Labor Day weekend is Si Se Pueda. Yes, we can. Janitor strike in LA. Good morning. Our story today for this Labor Day weekend is Si Se Pueda. Yes, we can. Janitor strike in LA. The words are by Diana Cohn, and the pictures are by Francisco Delgado. Sleep with the angels, Carlitos, says Mama when she tucks me in. See you in the morning, I say and close my eyes. While everyone sleeps, my mama goes to work. She rides the bus into downtown Los Angeles, where skyscrapers shoot up from the sidewalks. It's quiet when my mama goes into the tall glass office building where she scrubs the bathroom tiles so they shine like the moon, and mops and polishes the floors so smooth you can slide on them if you take off your shoes. The sun is ready to rise when she takes the bus back home again to me. When I wake up, Mama is always in the kitchen talking to my abuelita, or grandmother. We all eat breakfast together. When I'm ready, Mama walks me to the school bus. Sleep with the angels, Mama, I call out the window. Have a good day at school, she says. Then she goes back home to bed. One night, Mama said, do you know, Carlitos, I can't take care of you and your abuelita the way I want to. She sat me on her lap to explain. Even though I work full-time as a janitor, I also have to clean houses and wash clothes on the weekend. That means we don't have any time together. And I can't afford to buy the medicine Abuelita needs to help her sore bones feel better. Carlitos, she said, to work so hard and get paid so little, it isn't fair. So today, all the janitors met outside the Union Hall and voted to stop working, to strike. We're going to let those offices get dirtier and dirtier and won't clean them again until we get the paid raises we deserve. Mama, can you do that? I asked. That's just what I asked, she said. Can we do this? And all the janitors shouted back at the same time, Si se puede. Yes, we can. So tomorrow we're going on strike. And Carlitos, Mama said as she combed her fingers through my hair, for me to put my full heart into this, I'm going to need your help. I hugged my mama. I'll help you, I said. But in bed that night, I couldn't think of what I could do. Then the strike began. Every morning, Mama read me newspaper articles about the strike. She showed me photos of bus drivers, carpenters, ministers, and students, all marching alongside the janitors. Where did they all come from? I asked. Mama's eyes lit up. So many people promised to help us. People from Los Angeles and from all over California, and even from other states, came to take a stand with us. I cut out the photos to bring to school. Then I found out I wasn't the only one in my class with a parent on strike. Maria's father is also in the union. They're from El Salvador. And Tino's mother, who's from Nicaragua, was out at the marches every day too. Our teacher, Miss Lopez, told our class that when her grandfather came to the United States, he was also treated very badly, just as if he wasn't a person. Grandpa and the other farm workers joined together to fight for a better life, just like the janitors are doing now, she said. Did they win? I asked. You bet they won. When many people join together, they can make a strong force. The next night, I saw my mama on the news making a speech. Hundreds of people were marching behind her. That's when I knew what I could do to help. I'd go downtown too, but with a special surprise. I told my idea to my abuelita and to Miss Lopez. Then I talked to my class and asked all the kids to help. And together, we painted signs for the marchers. My favorite sign was the one I painted in the brightest colors of all. I love my mama. She is a janitor. The next day, Ms. Lopez took some of the kids from my class on the bus to downtown Los Angeles. When Mama saw us, she was so happy she almost cried. As we marched, I held my sign as high as I could. There were thousands and thousands of people all around me. I held on tight to Miss Lopez's hand. Carlos, she said, this is a celebration of courage. After 3 long weeks, the strike was over. My mama and the janitors finally got the respect and the pay raises they deserved. Carlitos, Mama said, I couldn't have done it without you. She hung the sign I made on our living room wall. It's the most beautiful sign in the world, she said. Now my mama smiles a whole lot more. Abuelita's sore bones feel so much better. She walks with Mama and me to the school bus in the morning. Mama no longer has to clean houses and wash clothes on the weekends. One Saturday morning, the phone rang right after we got home from the park. I'll be there, Mama said before she hung up. Carlitos, she said, I have a promise I must keep, to be there when other workers need my help. I took down my sign from the living room wall and walked out with her. That afternoon, we joined the workers and marched up and down in front of the hotel. Mama and I met lots of new friends, and together we shouted, Si se puede. This Labor Day weekend, and every day, let's remember to thank people who work very hard and people who speak out for fair pay and good working conditions. A special thank you to Anjum and Tamina, who will be providing childcare for children of all ages today and who are available to provide nursery care for the very youngest every Sunday. Now, let us sing Go With Joy to the children who would like to go to childcare now. The words will be projected in the sanctuary and on Zoom.
Go with joy.
May your way be peace, joy be yours through all your days. Live and learn to serve the world and dance on your way. Your way be peace, joy be yours through all your days. Live and learn to serve the world and dance on your way.
Vivian got her own individual song today. Bye, sweetheart. We have now reached the point in our service dedicated to the celebrating and remembering and holding dear our joys and concerns, which each of us have at one point or another. Those in the sanctuary are invited to come forward and take a stone from the basket and place it into the water in reflection of a joy or concern or both that you may be carrying with you. If you are online, you are welcome to write in the chat. Please know that it's public. And I ask you to come forward to share in this time together. Let us now take a moment to be with each other in a time of reflection, meditation, and prayer. Spirit of life and love, God we know by many names or no name at all. Please hear us as we recall and hold joys and concerns of our lives and of the lives of others. May we be grateful for the joyful things, the celebrations, the beginning of a good school year, the turning of the weather into the cooler parts of fall. And may we also hold dear the pains and concerns we all have for health issues, for loss, for sadness, in the many ways it takes form in our lives. May we know we are not alone. We have each other. And we have a faith that says it is all well worth the experience of being here on earth. for all the small things, all the big things, and the things in between. We say amen, and blessed be.
It's time for the offering. As a self-funded church, UUCR relies on the generosity of its members and friends to fund daily operations and to ensure that the church and its resources are here for us and others now and in the future. Pledges support our worship and music programs, our religious education program, programs for members and friends, community outreach, and connections to Unitarian Universalism. We now invite you to support the work of UU Reston by making your donation to the collection plate if you are here in the sanctuary, or at the link on the slide and in the chat box. Thank you for your generosity and support of our beloved spiritual home.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, a thousand mill lofts gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, we battle too for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our life shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. As we go marching, marching, unnumbered women dead, go crying through our singing, their ancient call for bread, small heart and love and beauty, their trudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, we think of braver days. The rising of our women means the rising of the race. No more will the drudge neither tent and toil where one reposes, but the sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses, bread and roses. Our life shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. But starve as well as bodies, bread and roses, bread and roses.
The following is a sermon written by Reverend Aileen Fitzke. Labor Day. Last Saturday, as I was watching the closing speeches at the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, one of the last speakers was a young man named Chris Smalls. He had a group of other young people around him. The reason he was chosen to speak was that he was responsible for unionizing the Amazon workers in the warehouse. and now serves as president of the Amazon Labor Union. In recent years, the push to unionize has taken on new energy. Starbucks stores are unionizing across the country, with more than 300 stores joining the union, forming the union Starbucks Workers United. These and other recent worker organized unions are part of a long history of organizing for better working conditions and pay. They are the reason for Labor Day. We sometimes forget that along with those who fought wars so that democracy could be strengthened here and abroad, there were those who fought domestically so that all people could have a voice in the conditions and quality of their lives, not just those with property and money. They fought for the 5-day work week, for the weekend. The fact that many people have a 3-day holiday weekend this weekend is in no small part the work of the labor movement to ensure the right of paid holidays. Sorry, I lost my spot. Now there's a slide. Thank you. They're ahead of me on this slide. This slide shows many of the other benefits that unions and labor movement in general have fought for. Child labor laws, worker compensation, health benefits, etc. And so I give you a history. The first labor union established in the United States was called the National Labor Union in 1866, just after the Civil War. Their goal was to achieve an 8-hour workday for all workers. They were not successful, but Congress did establish an 8-hour workday for government workers, though it was not strictly enforced. The National Labor Union fell apart in the early 1870s. The next union organization to rise was the Knights of Labor. In its height in 1886, it organized around 800,000 workers and pulled off major victory strikes against the railroad companies. Its goals were lofty. It fought for an 8-hour day, higher wages, women's economic rights, racial equality, industrial unionism, and laws ending child labor. But its ultimate goal was to bring about a commonwealth of labor in the United States, which abolished the wage system so that workers would control their own work. Pretty radical stuff for the times. They obviously did not achieve their goals. A series of unsuccessful strikes and accompanying violence, particularly the Haymarket bombing, which occurred during one of the largest worker strikes on May 6, 1886. And just as an aside, in many other countries, Labor Day is celebrated on May 1st. A bomb thrown by an unidentified person was blamed on labor activists, 7 of whom are sentenced to death. And it starts an organized crackdown on organized labor and an end to the Knights of Labor and its goals. In 1886, the more conservative American Federation of Labor was formed. It focused on wages and other incremental demands that could be achieved through collective bargaining. Though it was in theory inclusive, it largely worked with skilled labor and excluded women, new immigrants, and African Americans from its ranks. Despite that, unions and organized labor continue to grow, though faced incredible setbacks. The Homestead Strike of 1892, in which violence against amalgamated iron and steel by a private army of Pinkerton detectives, set off violence, which was finally quashed when the governor sent in troops to fight against the workers. the steel industry would not be unionized again for another 40 years. Pullman's strike of 1894 by the American Railway Union is violently subdued by troops brought in by President Grover Cleveland, and many people lose their lives in the violence. In 1905, the International Workers of the World, is this one, the Wobblies? Okay, there's another image, sometimes known as the Wobblies, is formed. It was much more radical than the American Federation of Labor, and was the only union at the time that welcomed all people into its ranks, including women, immigrants, and African Americans. It was active during one of the bloodiest periods of worker repression and violence. In the early 20th century, a series of strikes and violence in the garment industry led to strong concessions to the International Ladies Garment Worker Union. It was women in those early years of the century that would prove a strong voice for, at least among us, working class immigrant women. The shirtwaist strike of 1911 encompassed 30,000 workers, mostly women, and lasted 11 weeks, at the end of which time the employers conceded to most of the demands: shorter work weeks, no discrimination against union loyalists, and negotiation of wages with the workers. The Triangle Shirtwaist Fire of 1911, which cost the lives of 146 workers, mostly women, ushered in new safety regulations in factories and a modernization of New York's labor laws. And the textile strike of Lawrence, Massachusetts, also known as the Bread and Roses strike, which is that song that we heard for offering, and that was sung by Judy Collins, we heard that during the offering, was also led by women. The Wobblies took over the leadership of the strike and established innovative practices such as sending strikers' children to sympathizers in other states to care for them while their mothers were on strike. This particular strike drew sympathy from all over, and locals prepared food and other necessities for the strikers. People from other states sent money in support of the women, and when police started beating mothers, children, and pregnant women, the sympathy for the women became widespread. And Congress held investigative hearings that revealed the horrible working conditions in the Lawrence factories. Eventually, the employers agreed to all the workers' demands, both for bread and roses, fair wage, and dignity. The pre- and post-World War I years were fatal for organized labor. The Espionage Act, enacted during World War I, was used as an excuse to jail union organizers as domestic terrorists and communist sympathizers. With the advent of the Great Depression, union organizing began what would be the most productive era of organized labor in the United States. Spanning the 1930s into the 1970s, most of the labor improvements and laws that we enjoy to this day were enacted. During this era, because of the relentless work of auto workers, the Teamsters, longshoremen, and the formation of the Congress of Industrial Workers, CIO, under whom the steel workers were reunionized and other industrial workers organized for the first time, many workplace improvements are made into law. In 1935, Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the National Labor Relations Act, which allowed private sector workers to organize into unions, bargain collectively, and strike. And the National Labor Relations Board was established for enforcement In 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act was signed, which mandated an 8-hour workday and a 40-hour work week with time and a half for overtime, the abolition of child labor, and the institution of a minimum wage. In the 1960s, under the leadership of Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, the United Farm Workers, which succeeded in organizing farm workers, which others in the labor field thought was impossible. When Dolores Huerta asked people in the Arizona business community and other fellow workers to help with the cause, they said, "No se puede." No, it can't be done. So Dolores in response said, "Sí se puede." Yes, it can be done. And that became a rallying cry for the movement. She and Chavez succeeded in creating the United Farm Workers Union. The Agricultural Labor Relations Act of 1975 allowed union workers to elect their own representatives. Why is all of this important? It is important because most of us benefit from the reforms and laws enacted by the labor movement throughout the decades. We enjoy weekends and holidays and paid time off and health care, workers' compensation, sick leave. We often extol our service people and veterans for fighting for our rights in wars, and we should. But we seem to forget those who fought for our rights domestically, often to their deaths, against not a foreign enemy, but against those whom they often trusted and who should have had their best interests at heart, but didn't. Often against their own government, forces who use troops in protection of the most powerful in society rather than the protection of the least. Thousands gave their lives, not simply for themselves, for organized labor was always about the collective workers' rights, not just about individual rights. And it was also about the rights of future workers, so they wouldn't have to work in similar conditions. So we celebrate Labor Day and we have time off to do it because those who went before so that we would have these benefits. And it is why people today are still fighting for labor rights. The great Frederick Douglass once wrote, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will." So for Labor Day, I say, sí se puede. Yes, we can. Amen and blessed be.
Our final hymn is One More Step, number 168 in the Silver Hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and say one more prayer. One more song. We will sing one more song till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Today's benediction comes from Dolores Huerta. We just have to convince other people that they have power. This is what they can do by participating to make change, not only in their community, but many times changing in their own lives. Once they participate, they get their sense of power.
We now extinguish this flame. But not the light of hope and truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry forth in our hearts until we are together again.
What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she wants back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she wants back down? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens? What happens? What happens when a woman takes power? What happens when she wants
choir for that rousing presentation. It's so lovely to hear that on Labor Day. We invite our congregants to join us for coffee and tea and fellowship. As a reminder, you're all invited to attend a garden interest meeting in the sanctuary. Just grab your coffee, join Lori Dodd. Those attending worship on Zoom can join us for our virtual Greet Your Neighbor coffee hour to discuss the service, enjoy fellowship with other congregants. The link is in the chat box, will be on a forthcoming slide. We hope you will use the chat box as a virtual receiving line to leave a message about your appreciation for the worship service. And we also have one last little announcement here. There will be the worship service, in-gathering worship service and potluck picnic. The title being The Water Brings Us Home. It'll be led by Reverend Aileen Fitzke on Sunday, September 10th, 10 a.m. in the sanctuary and streamed live on Zoom. A little description: water moves around us, within us, and affects every part of our being. We will explore the many aspects of water as we come together to celebrate our intergenerational ingathering and the start of the church year and the all-church potluck picnic. Please RSVP. You can bring a dish or salad or dessert to this picnic. So hope to see you all there. Hope you enjoy this Labor Day weekend. See you soon.